Yo, what's up? What's up? What's up? What's going on, everybody? This is That Comic Show, the podcast. We are here for Shang Chi. This is a straight up spoiler heavy. We're going to be talking about everything that went down in this movie, things that are to come, things that they talked about from the past. I got a good panel with me, the same panel that you guys see most weeks. We got my man, I Am Legend. We got my man, Color is Everything. And we got my man, Deceptively Awesome. We are here in the building. So we saw the movie, all of us, individually, different times. We didn't talk about the movie to each other. We were going to leave it all for the stream, which I love. So first impression of the movie. We're not talking about pros and cons just yet. Just your immediate reaction to the film. I'm going to start with I guess, clockwise. So I'm going to start with I Am Legend and go around the table.
Okay. Let's see. All right, so this movie came out kind of during a bad time in the Northeast area. I didn't know we got hit that hard because my area is kind of good, but everywhere else was bad, a lot of flooding and stuff. The movie that I went to, the power was out, so they didn't have a lot of, they didn't have a lot of stuff with it. So that confused me a little bit when I got there. I seen like some of the lights was out and certain things. I'm like, yo, what's going on here? But they said, nah, your movie's still here. You're still gonna be able to enjoy the show. Still got your seats, got the laid back, got the chill and rock with it. Have to say, first impressions, I was very entertained from the time the movie started to the last after credit. I enjoyed 100% of it. I enjoyed all of it. Like there was no time in the theater where I was like, why they do that, or I'm ready to go, or it slowed down too much, or is it too much fighting, too much action? It was leveled the whole way through, in my opinion, and I enjoyed it.
All right. I like where we're starting. Go ahead. Color is Everything. Let me hear you.
One day I want to be in sync with everybody else. I really do. I thought it was okay.
That's good. We don't have to be in sync.
I enjoyed what I enjoyed, but there were some things that left me going like, and I feel terrible for that.
No,
like,
that's good to have. That's something to discuss about.
I feel terrible about that. Like I enjoyed it as a Marvel movie first and foremost. Like it met Marvel standards, maybe towards the lower end, if I'm being honest, right? If Marvel has averaged itself between 7 and 10 in terms of movies, this was closer towards 7 for me. Yeah, I would say to sum up what I felt like, I enjoyed what I enjoyed. But yeah, there were definitely parts where I was like, okay. So that's how I felt.
Okay.
Okay, heating up.
I like it. I told you brought the hoodie out tonight.
All right. You're going to work. Stay rocky over here. All right, so my first impressions is that first and foremost, two things, right? Number one, that's why I love this panel, because we just all have sometimes the same opinion or sometimes different opinions. And I just love the cohesion with all of us, whether good or bad. Also, too, to make it clear, Marvel has not, in my opinion, Marvel has not made a bad movie yet. They've made movies, maybe that was more like what Color said, bottom of the barrel, but you can't say you don't understand a Marvel movie. It's not coherent. It doesn't follow some stuff. I mean, continuity may not always be perfect, only because it's a movie, and not everything will be perfect in one-to-one. You know what I mean? With the movies plus with the TV shows. With that being said, I think that Shang-Chi was a weaker Black Panther. So I actually agree with Colors is Everything. I think it was okay, but it was like one notch lower than okay, in my opinion. So I think obviously we'll dive into all of our opinions, but I'm like, this is just a weaker Black Panther. I'm sorry.
I like it.
So
he went there.
So Travis, you jumped way ahead to what I was going to bring up later on. So I will bring this up later on.
Well, I figured.
Yeah.
I figured I time travel forward.
Oh, okay. That's what you do? All right. I can't. So my initial reaction to this film, I'm a big Marvel fan. Obviously, I like Marvel. I like the MCU. I like what they do with the characters. I like what they do with storyline. Storytelling is my thing. Seeing this movie, I'm kind of on the fence between what I Am Legend is saying and what Colors Everything and Deceptively Awesome is saying. It was a fun film. I enjoyed it. There were some parts of the film that stopped dead for me, that really drained me. I was going full speed, and then it just straight stop, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, man, why do we have to do this? I feel as though, like, as a brand, as Marvel, I feel like we're beyond this type of uh, formula when it comes to their storytelling. Like, I think that we're beyond that now. Like, we can move it forward. We don't have to, check every box that that every origin film in Marvel formulates way back when. We could do something a little different. So I felt like this movie kind of fell in that mold, and for me it kind of hurt the movie. But when the scenes picked up again, it picked right back up. So it wasn't like a slow build back to get me back to that that revving point. Like, it was like you stopped dead, and then immediately it revved right back to where I wanted it to rev, and it kept me going throughout the film. So yeah, I was on the fence with this one. Yeah, so let's dive into the pros.
Nah.
We want to do the cons first.
The cons first.
Let's go with the cons.
I definitely
Bearer of bad news.
and let hit everybody with the things that I thought were great, because there were some great things in that.
Yeah. All right.
Because even though I like I said, I enjoyed the movie throughout, I still have some cons with it. But the way y'all speaking it, y'all cons look like it's probably might be more worse than my cons, I guess. So I'm gonna see, what your guys' perspective of it.
Okay. In that case, let's talk about cons.
Yeah.
So
Go ahead, Sams. You got it.
I'll kick it off. I'll talk about my main con in this entire movie.
Obviously,
Trevor Slattery.
we know which one. We know what
Trevor
that
Slattery.
is already.
Exactly. Why is Trevor Slattery alive? Why is he alive? Why was he present throughout the film? Why does he have long hair? Like, this was the part of the movie that stopped dead for me every single time. Every time he was on film, every time he was in front, it stopped dead. I hated his character because of what he did in Iron Man 3. I'm a big fan of the Mandarin from the comic books. I was looking forward to that. I see your hand, Rob. I see your hand. I was a big fan of him at first, and then I like the approach that they were going. All right, he's from the Middle East. He's a terrorist. He got this whole syndicate going on. Bet, cool. And then he's really an actor. I hated that part of Iron Man 3. Everybody knows that. When that part happened, I was done with the film. I was like, all right, I was literally, like you're on a roller coaster and you're enjoying it, but then you pass out and you have to stay on the roller coaster.
Iron Man 3 stopped dead when you realized the Mandarin wasn't the Mandarin that you were familiar with.
It stopped dead when he became, not even the one I was familiar with, the one that they established him to be, leading up to, I guess, that point where he was like, oh yeah, I'm really an actor. Like, you never seen it coming. Like, all that stuff, I was with that. I was like, okay, yeah, that's a different approach to the Mandarin. I was cool with that. But then they just dropped it off and said, yeah, I'm really an actor. Ole, ole, ole. Yo, I was losing my mind. Okay. So when I saw that stopped dead. So now when this movie coming out, I'm saying, I bet I saw the movie, the Marvel one shot. I saw that
All Hail the King.
Yeah, All Hail the King. They took him out of jail. I was like, I bet now they're going to execute him. I was hoping that was going to be the opening scene. Like, he was going to have him rings. He was going to be like, yeah, you took my name. Bah! Just like, let's go off the gate. I didn't see that. And then, of course, he's in the middle of the film, like he was in Iron Man, and he stopped the movie dead for me. Every single time he was on film, he stopped the movie dead. I hated every part that was in. It wasn't funny to me. That was my biggest con in the entire movie.
When I seen that happen in the theater, I'm like, oh, Corey gonna hate this. Only because you hate that character.
It's funny
because his character, like his whole scenes, whatever he has, it didn't stop the movie dead for me. I was expecting him to come around. I thought they was gonna like tell a backstory, which they did at the dinner scene. But when they actually showed him, I was like, oh, he's still alive. And his scenes was funny to me. I don't know, like it was a different. It brought a different feeling to the film. I enjoyed it, to tell you the truth. But I knew that's what you're gonna hate. You're gonna hate that, all because of the character.
What I didn't like as well is the way that they established not even the Mandarin, but was it Wenwu? Wenwu. I might be saying it wrong, but the overall villain of the film, the way that they established him, I was sympathetic, and I'm going to talk about that later on too, about him as a villain. Yeah. But when it comes to the type of character that they've established him as, I would have thought that the first thing he would have did was to get rid of him. But then they told the story like they were about to kill him, but then they were like, "Oh, yo, he's funny. He's gonna be a jester." I was like, "Oh, come
which
on."
Is why I don't know what Trav says.
Don't tell me that was your
the kid breaking in.
I
don't.
Oh
yeah. I think we kind of missed the point, and I picked up on it so quickly. Okay. And I'm gonna spoil it. They left him in there as a flip on what Americans have done to the Chinese for years. So it was actually a cultural storytelling. Okay. That's why the whole dinner table scene, I was like, oh, I see, y'all went straight for that too. Okay, this is 2021. We talking about it, right?
Yeah.
Like from the fact that like you guys were afraid of a man whose name was after a chicken, like it's a fruit.
Yeah.
You know, he talked about how powerful names are, and so I actually commend them for putting that in the script, because the whole point of Ben Kingsley's character is to be a mockery on America and their perceptions of evil and wrong.
But he's not even American.
Yeah. Well, Western.
Okay, Corey. He's not an American in the film. He's not an American.
While in Black Panther, they talked about the word colonizer directly.
Yes.
The Chinese were more creative and artful in calling out the like, look what you afraid of. Like this, I was about to get real colorful. My G's a clown, right? Like he a clown. Like we have this guy being a local jester, and that's what you were afraid of. He's not even the real us. So I actually, funny you said that as a con. I enjoyed them calling out that in a very creative way. Like, oh, okay, colonizers.
I'm the only one on this.
Yeah,
that was a pro. That was a pro for me too, because like you said, they addressed.
I took it exactly what it was, as a cultural kind of a political thing in there, and not so. To me, I laughed at it. I was like, yeah, because look, this was the guy America was afraid of, and he's over here talking to a faceless bird.
But not only that though, you got to remember that the name Mandarin comes from the comic book, so it was also comic books are racist as they come. You know what I mean? So. I think that actually was a con, because it did kind of say like that's how the view was even back then, and things hasn't really changed now. But now it's like, I guess, time for change. So that was kind of interesting that they did that approach. But so that's a pro for me.
Yeah, same.
I know the whole character.
Listen, everything you stated, I am not disagreeing with that wholeheartedly. I saw it. I peeped that too. I was like, okay, that's where I like where they're going as far as the kind of pulling away the curtain and everything like that, so you can see what's going on behind the scenes and stuff like that. I get that. I'm with that. I just personally didn't like the character. I just don't like.
You see the contradiction, like the therapist in me says it's a contradiction. You can't equally dislike the character when the character is meant to represent exactly what you're saying. Also agree with and see.
No, I could disagree. I could disagree with the character and the use of the character, but also still agree with the fact of, all right, this is the overall principle of why the character is.
But if they didn't use the character that way, like if they had changed it to something that you would like, then they would take away from the idea of what it meant, what it represented politically and culturally.
If they blew his head off in the middle of the film.
Oh, so you just want him to die, period.
He just don't like that character. That's what I'm trying to tell you. You argue with a wall right now. You argue with a steel wall right now. You're not gonna
don't like the character.
That's my bad.
I don't like the character. I love what they did, because I'm sure people walked away from that like, yo, dude, did we really like characterize people from these parts of the world in this way? And like, I'm sure people walked away with that type of mentality, but I didn't like the character. That was one of my biggest cons in the film. But let's move on.
My biggest con it wasn't it was one of my cons. How they showed Ta Lo. I think that's what the place is called.
Ta Lo, yeah.
Ta Lo. the way they talked about it, it's supposed to be like this big mystic place, and it kind of was kind of like somebody's backyard almost. It's
Tight.
kind of like somebody's, like
Tight.
yeah, like if you have like a house in North Carolina, it's like one of the backyards. Like it's not really that huge. I was expecting something. I think somebody said it was like a step below Black Panther level. Like we expected some type of huge
Mhm.
setting. That's all. It was just the setting was a little small. I wanted them to go into more of when the aunt was talking about the civilization and the different, I don't know, dimension that they was in, when they had like big cities and stuff like that, but they ran from the creatures. I wanted to see those areas.
The Pokemons? The Pokemons thing?
Oh my God, that one Pokemon with the white.
I was like,
Nachos.
I was like, where's Ash?
Not Jurassic. They definitely
Like,
had
wasn't that like?
there.
Wasn't that
Absolutely.
like?
But even with the animals, I understood because those are
Eevee's evolved form.
yeah. Even with the animals, I understood because those are actual Chinese traditions.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
Missing
yeah.
animals, I understood
Yeah.
that. I just
I did.
wanted to expand on it to see that more of the area. That's all. That was one of my biggest cons of it. Because it was kind of underwhelming once you actually see it, like, oh, you're fighting over this place, like it's just a little place with a little lake.
Like,
Yeah.
all I kept thinking about, and in the premise of the film, and this is bad because I used to watch South Park a lot, and there was South Park did a movie where there was bad guys behind the gates, and all the fairy tale and mystical creatures, the good creatures were there, and they were trying to stop the Al Qaeda from blowing this gate open and all these evil monsters coming out. That's all I was thinking about throughout the third act of the film. I was like, oh, okay, so they try to stop
South
these
Park.
creatures
I wasn't
from
even
coming
thinking
to this
about
gate.
that.
You know what's so funny?
Yeah.
It's like I agree with that, or I see that as a con, while also probably understand or seeing why they wouldn't explore it.
Right.
Because they use the word universe and magical place. So I feel like if there's a part of that either to expand later on in a multiverse kind of way, or leave it to like a Doctor Strange type thing. Because my thought was also like, Doctor Strange, I don't know about this place, right? It's magical in origin, and it's a complete other universe. Because I liked how when you notice they drove through, it had this circular ring gate. Had that similar theme. So I was like, hits to it. So while I feel like that's why they're leaving it for longer, I also felt like, yeah, you're right. I would have liked to have seen more. So I think in some of those ways they did constrict the Chinese culture into something that like should have been expansive and beautiful. And I think that is what Ryan Coogler pushed, this idea of like, we are greater than what you think, right? You want to keep us to these small boxes and small spaces, but we are this. Right? We are our own nation. So they spoke about it, to your point, I Am Legend, but they didn't allow it to exist. And I feel you on that. My con actually aligns to what Sam said. I definitely think where it fell flat for me was the whole archetype of like, oh, they may be a love interest, or like, oh, she's the quirky sidekick. I was like, yo, dead that. Like, we don't need that. Like, you're falling from the bamboo, like chick fall. Honestly,
falling don't get up.
Hey, that was a throwback to Jackie Chan. That was a little,
and I love that, by the way. We're not talking about pros. But that was a con for me. It was actually the Aquafina elements. It was the idea of like, let's kind of make it humorous. I laughed at something, so I thought it was funny, but I also felt like they could have straight went full martial arts movie, but like modern day martial arts. Like, give me a Jet Li kind of essence to it, right? Give me a give me an I Am Legend. No, that's the wrong movie. Give me a Ip Man. Like, give me an Ip Man type thing, right? Like, Ip Man tells stories. Initially has some romance inside of it, but it also gives you hardcore action. So for me, it definitely fell flat with those Aquafina like just those little moments.
I got that in my pros. I love the Aquafina moments. Like, I don't know.
Specific moment, I'll be a specific con where I was like, I'm drawn out. Was the scene by the lake. And I said, what is the point? Like, what is the point of this?
Oh, when they're sitting by the lake and he's like, yo, I gotta kill my pops. And she was like, oh. And he just got up and left. I was like, that's it? What we doing here? What we doing here? What we need this for? Yeah, there's a lot of, and that's the thing. I thought that really plagued this movie was like the formula, the original formula that helped a lot of these the origin movies from Marvel. If you look back at almost all the Marvel movies, their origins, your main main superhero has a quirky sidekick. Either they're quirky in a funny way, or they're quirky in they're really evil type of way, or something like that. And it's just like it I don't know if it doesn't really. I guess it humanizes your main character, but then it also like kind of detracts from that story because you kind of got that annoying bug in your face and you gotta swat it, but you're trying to focus on what you're really trying to do. I don't know. For me, the Aquafina, I could have done without it. I mean, she was good in the role that she was in, but I could have done without it in the film.
And I do. Are we doing one con or are we doing all the cons?
I mean, how many cons you want to throw out there?
All right, let me let you guys go because we've been talking about. I got another con that was
but see, my con is kind of what you're saying, colors, but is what Sam you said earlier. My con of the whole movie was just them ticking up all the boxes, like, and some of them was just it was just super obvious. Like, for example, one thing that took me out of the movie was when people kept saying, "Remember who you are," like. You don't understand how it's like that is just a trope that has to be in certain movies. I get it, but it's like to me it didn't fit at all because it's not like it's not like Black Panther where he needed to prove to himself that he could be their king and their leader. You know what I'm saying? I mean, this guy wants nothing to do with his father's organization. So you want him to remember who he is, so that way he just goes sit behind a car. Like, I don't get that part, Or like you said. Another thing, ticking off the boxes. Okay, we need a character that people are familiar with. All right, let's get Wong. He's Asian. Put him in the movie. Check. Let's have another character that they're familiar with. Let's Abomination. We haven't seen him in a long time. Don't explain anything about him, but let's just put him in the movie. Check. All right. Let's put the big fight scene. Wait. Let's put the big fight scene at the end. Instead of doing a blue light in the sky, talking about the whole world's gonna end. Let's put dragons in some world-ending event. Check. I just felt like they just kept checking all of the boxes. That is just like, let's make Awkwafina's character do an amazing shot after one day of training. Archery, where it takes people years to nail a shot like that. Check. It just, to me, was just check after check after check. Let's do flashbacks. Sprinkle in the movie. Check. I just couldn't take it. I couldn't take it. I'm sorry.
People miss because they don't have anything to aim at. She has something to aim at.
Now, here's the thing. That line right there. Now that line right there. That's a pro right there, because that was a powerful line right there. Because that got me in my chair like, oh shoot. Dang,
really don't say him.
Like, if I don't aim for nothing, I ain't gonna have nothing. Yo, mind blown.
I don't care what it meant on the second understanding of it. I thought that was BS. And then he learns his father's fighting style, not to use it in the beginning of the fight, only to use it when he remembers to use it. Like his mother's fighting style that he needed to do to beat his father. I'm like, again, check. You know what I'm saying? It was just check after check after check, and I'm just like guys, I thought we were past this now. You guys are an amazing studio. You guys don't have to tick all the boxes, So I just felt like it just took me out of it.
The issue is that we're doing the origin story 13 years in. Like, when we met Black Panther, we didn't meet him in his first film. When we met some of these other characters, we didn't meet them in their first film. We met him prior. So with Shang-Chi, like, nobody in the world knew who Shang-Chi is. Even even the comic people hardly knew who he was. So this one, they had to give you everything. They had to make it that way of spoon feeding you, pretty much, and saying hey,
they gave us the legends. In all honesty, though, where I agree with you and why an origin was necessary for Shang-Chi, it's where they chose to anchor the origin. I would have loved to see him training.
Wait. Where they anchor the origin?
So they anchored his origin more as the adult, like, hey, I'm trying to run away from my past. That's why they had to give you this trope of like, who am I? I would have loved this idea of the neglected child origin, like this idea of I want your affection and approval, and like but also you're not willing to give it to me in a way that's healthy and necessary. Like that would have been dope. Like seeing him between his mother's death, up until he as they alluded to, he kills homeboy, and then you kind of jump ahead into this big moment of like conflict of like, nah, I'm not doing this. This ain't wrong. That would have been dope.
Maybe I'm missing something, but I think that's what they did. Kinda. It's just maybe they didn't do it like they didn't start with the mother's death. Like if they started the movie with the mother's death and then but they kind of do it like in a type of flashback way.
This man
that's the whole story is about. The whole story is about the father and the son.
Most lethal hand-to-hand combat there is. So that means after his mother's death and to where he is now, the fact that his father said, "I knew they weren't going to kill you," means he is the baddest 16-year-old before he left. Tell me that story. Tell me what it's like for a kid at 16 to be put in positions of death and fear and be told to do these things. What is that like for a hero to then come back and say, "I don't want to be that"? So that's conflict.
There's
awesome to say, and it's like,
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
There was a movie. There was a movie that came out some years back called the Ninja Assassin.
The Ninja Assassin.
The Ninja Assassin. Now that movie right there, that told a brilliant story of why this dude is the baddest ninja out of all the ninja assassins, and they showed his training. They showed the abuse that he went through. They showed the fact that he had to kill to get the approval from his father. Like that story is what Shang-Chi should have been during certain parts, because it really told you that story as to why he is who he say he is. And
I think the first half should have been that way, because honestly, it took me out every time they do a flashback. Some of the flashbacks honestly were kind of boring and put me to sleep a little bit, because it was just like you don't have to do the whole in between flashback moments. I would have rather see the movie start off as a flashback so we kind of know where he's like, what he is, what he can do. And then with the bus scene, I'm not doing a suspension of disbelief at the point when I see the bus scene, you know what I mean? Because we haven't seen him do any of this stuff. And then all of a sudden he's like, he's Jackie Chan times 10. And it's like, which I love the fight scene. It was dope. I mean, especially that one when he hit the both two and he kicked, that was straight Jackie Chan. And I love that whole scene. But it was like Aquafina and I had the same expression, like, what the hell? I would have liked to see him do that before. So that way I'm like, oh yeah, kick the ass, while she's like, I've never seen you do this before. You know what I mean? So I think that they dropped the ball with having too many of the cut scenes in between, and then his mother dying. I can care less. I didn't care less about his mother. You know what I mean? At that point, I don't know. I just thought that they could have told it. The pacing was off for me.
That part actually surprised me, because I'm thinking like their mom died from like medical reasons, something like that.
Yeah, I thought.
And then when they showed that scene, I'm like, what's about to happen? That totally surprised me. I don't know.
But that's the thing, though. In most Asian movies, it's always like that. It's always a parent dying and some kind of mixed within some kind of war element while their parents are dying. Always. It's never. So I already expected that when he said his mother was dead. I was like, okay, let me guess. I guess his father now is going to have to try to figure out how to bring his mother back. That's why he wants them to help him and blah, blah, blah. Like, and which again, I didn't like that whole thing. You know what I mean? Like his father didn't seem, I don't know. I just didn't like that whole thing. I think his father didn't seem like he was too much in a trance for him to be that dead set on breaking that wall to get his mother. You know what I'm saying? Especially he's breaking the wall and these beasts are coming out. You mean to tell me that he's not saying, well, wait a minute, pause.
Just look up. That's what I'm saying. Just look up.
Yeah, just look up. Like,
they screeched. Like, you didn't hear that?
I want to talk about that scene, but I'm going to talk about that on the pro side. I see a pro.
That was a con for me.
I see a pro in that. And
that was my other con. So I was going to talk about the ending, and it falls into the whole what you guys have been saying about this archetype of an origin movie.
Yeah,
this world bending soul sucker. Like, because, and here's where Marvel, if they want to listen to any one of our podcasts and just like take any advice from fans, you've established a world where heroes are connected and heroes have certain worlds. There's no way that would have happened, and Wong and Strange wouldn't have been like, no, let's show up. You know what I'm saying? Like,
especially when you see them.
Guys.
Building it up. Like, if they gets out, this is going to be universe. not
Colors.
world ending, universe ending.
Colors.
Yeah.
Wanda had people on lock for 2 weeks straight without
Wanda
Strange coming
also
in.
is chaos
So
magic
I don't expect
personified. She
But
has
we-
him in a
No.
bubble.
and
Well,
we
real
don't
quick.
even know where Strange is at right now. We don't even
Wanda
know.
did a
I was just about to
Themyscira.
say.
Wanda did a Themyscira. Go ahead.
I was just about to say because they were a little vague about when the timeline of this movie hit. Now we know it's after the blip because they said there's posters of like post blip depression and all that stuff. The back of Shang-Chi's t-shirt said class of 17. So we get an idea of what his age is. We get an idea of when this time is. Now we have to remember what goes on after that blip. What's happening after that blip? We still don't know really what Stephen Strange was doing during the time Wanda was doing her thing, during the time that apparently Loki was doing his thing. So a lot of things are kind of,
That is against
all
my
over.
point. 'Cause I did read that
Yeah.
the director did say the whole Wong abomination plays a part in another. Like, we'll understand why
Yeah,
that
of course.
happened
Yeah.
when
They
we
were just
keep
trying to
track
make
of
money.
all the movies.
That's all
Of
that
course.
was. They were just trying to make money for
Well,
something.
I mean, Kevin Feige
Gotta
wants to
make
make
the
money
bread.
and also
Gotta get
keep
the
story. Like, he tells stories within stories. Like, there are
Yeah.
some things you go back and go, "Oh, that's why that was there."
Yeah, you
It's
sprinkle
still-
a
But
little
I
bit.
think the end
Universe
credit,
ending, just
You would expect for at least them
No.
to be there.
my thing is though, is like what Color's saying is like this thing is not just world ending. What I mean by world ending is that in their kind of little world setting and not in their, Shang-Chi's world setting. This is universal, multiversal kind of battle that's going on. I would have liked to see something more localized, kind of like how Black Panther was a little bit more localized. It was more so what Black Panther was doing. And I think Ryan Coogler did an awesome job with that because he kept it grounded with just them, especially when they're part of a bigger universe. Like you can't steal the president anymore when no other superhero is going to show up. That's just not going to happen. You're not going to get away with that. So you can't get away with doing something that's on a multiversal scale and act like you ain't going to see Doctor Strange or you ain't going to see someone else show up. You can't do that anymore. I would have liked to see Shang-Chi just within that family dynamic and let them deal with that. And at the end, Wong could have came and said, "Hey, look, we need your help for something bigger." You know what I mean? They just kind of throwing it all in there.
Here's another thing though we got to keep in mind.
Check.
They spoke about this war happening before, and they didn't mention anything about a Sorcerer Supreme being present during that time either. Because
the dragons also stopped it, and that being said, Shang-Chi himself is what he said. The rings, his use of the rings gave significant power. So whoever like locked it in before gave some. I mean, I hear what you're saying. I'm trying to rationalize it. I hear what you're saying about, okay, if they didn't mention the Sorcerer Supreme before, then why would they mention it now? Cool. But now we know of a Sorcerer Supreme who specifically said to Thor himself, right, in Ragnarok, my job is to keep track of people like you. My job is to be mindful of these things. So unless this is a completely separate universe that Shang-Chi is about to come into, which I don't think it is the case, then there's no way that Strange wouldn't have been aware of it and he wouldn't have came in. So it would have been easier for me if the crux of the movie was his father invading and that was the battle, right? Like they don't even get to the gate. It just, they kept it local and this man is fighting armies like waves after waves of dude ending in his father and he's doing whatever it takes to stop us. I would have been cool with it. Like
also, like you're saying, is Tylo even in like the Earth dimension, the Earth realm? It's not even at the same realm, is it?
Sorcerer Supreme.
I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying.
We have to look at.
But Sorcerer Supreme is for the Earth's reality. Like he's making sure the Earth's reality is safe. If you said it yourself, they went through some type of realm to some dimensional gate and end up on some other side. I'm just saying. I'm just using what you said.
Demon had put his toe inside that gate, and maybe Strange would have came. I'll give you that loophole. It's just
there you go.
A little.
I get what you're.
It's like Wong realized the energy.
I got one.
That's him, yo. He gets a little victory rating.
I'm just saying, did the Sorcerer Supreme ever go to Asgard when where's his face was
different though? Well, all right.
How's the difference? If it's different realm, what we talk about here, guys?
Okay.
But it's the same universe.
Exactly. Same
But
universe.
that's not one of the
realm.
nine.
Yeah,
my thing
yeah, got him.
My thing is,
Oh,
the one thing the one thing they can do to justify this.
Go ahead, John.
He's straight like announcer from wrestling, yo.
Yo, Corey, they had like a whole Ragnarok and Social Supreme was there. They just like not that off. Like, hey, it don't mean nothing. It's good. But now all of a sudden, now they want Doctor Strange to come out and do the Doctor Strange thing.
He getting the Avengers treatment. He getting the Avengers treatment.
This is crazy, man.
Go ahead, Travis. Go ahead.
My thing is the only way they can justify this is if Doctor Strange, the one that we see in Spider-Man, if Doctor Strange is the one that we saw in episode 4 of What If, and he was like the spirit calling out to his father to unleash these dragons to absorb. That is something I can kind of see happening in a way. But other than that, it's like, to me, it just was an element I didn't need.
This theory that Doctor Strange is not our Doctor Strange. I think it is. Yeah. I think the Doctor Strange.
I don't think it is.
You know what? I didn't think so either until I watched that episode.
But
yeah, I realized.
Here's what I'm gonna hit y'all with with a quick pause. I actually think we will see a version of that Doctor Strange, but in Spider-Man, I think it's our Doctor Strange. I think it's gonna be straightforward. I think it's a matter of like, look here, Ninja, you done just shattered this world. Let me try to fix your mistake. You're gonna make another mistake. Now we see I'm pissed, right? Because why you here? Why you here? Stay outside my circle. Stay outside my circle.
So y'all answered y'all question right then and there. Because in the trailer, we see Wong leaving. Now he could have been leaving to go to this battle, which is happening, which everything is happening around the same time.
No, there's a line that's interesting. Remember, Wong says, when we practice this, you weren't supposed to hit me so hard. I'm not even sure it's Abomination. I actually think it might be the.
No, they called him. They called him as.
They called him Bronski.
Yeah, Neil. Yeah.
I was wondering. It was interesting, right? In the locker room, first of all, they rapping. He's like, we didn't practice that. So I'm like, since when did Abomination? Is this
continuity? Remember Infinity War? Doctor Strange asked Juan how much money he had. He said 200 rupees. They're just trying to get some money, man. It was broke. This is how they get money.
Make that money. Listen,
that's how fighting works.
Listen, remember where they are. Remember where they are in New York. Remember where they are, yo. Taxes is high over there, man.
Yeah.
They ain't got no real jobs.
Can you imagine the Saints in foreclosure?
You are terrible for calling Wong a side job, yo. Terrible. They said my man Wong just trying to hustle for another sandwich.
Pretty much.
That's it. All right, listen, yo. Let's go on to our pros. I mean, this movie it has a lot of cons. There's a lot of stuff that they fell on that, you know, as a studio. Travis said this. Deceptively also said this. You know, 13 years in, you know, at this point, you know, we could go past some of these checkpoints. We don't really need these checkpoints anymore. Let's tell a new story. So let's get to the pros though. So I want to kick this off with the pros. The fight choreography in this film. If I was to rate it on the scale of other Marvel films, I want to say that this has got to be maybe top 2, top 3.
What's the first one? It was top 1.
I'm gonna
help you. No,
not
Winter
Civil
Soldier.
War.
Winter Soldier. Probably
Winter Soldier. That's
hand to hand.
Yeah,
like up close. Less.
Not better than this.
I'm still on the fence. I'm still on the fence with that. But like right off the gate, that whole bus scene, as ludicrous as it was, oh my gosh, the fight scenes in that was breathtaking. And they're fighting in an isolated space, in a small space, while it's moving. I mean, there's a lot of factors in there that doesn't make sense, but it's a comic book movie, so you have to allow it to. All right, I got to suspend my disbelief for a second to enjoy this part of the film. And even when they're in the tunnel and it's that straight shot going through, he's kicking dudes out the window. Like I loved it. And even the final part when he's flipping and he's getting back into the other side and he loses medallion and everything like that. Comically. Yo, it was yo. Listen, the fight choreography in this film was amazing.
Yeah, that scene in the scalpel scene when it was on the building.
Yeah,
and I like the way they did it because usually with usually 1 against 30 movies, you always got those people in the back just waiting to throw a punch. This one was more like, nah, they just coming right at you, and you just taking them out. I was like, yo, that was dope.
That's what I want to see.
Very Jackie Chan reminiscent, man.
Yeah.
Just the whole how he used the board. That one where he flipped down and used the board and knocked down 2 guys. It was so Jackie Chan. I think one of my favorite scenes actually was the scene where his father was facing against his mother. Because to me, that was very. Not only was it beautifully shot, I think just the style was. It reminded me of that game, Dead or Alive, and some of those characters in it, the way they move. It reminded me of something. It reminded me of that kind of feel to it, man. Like some kind of Tekken kind of. Like if Tekken was to be a movie, this would be it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'll talk about all the right things, man. All the right things, absolutely.
It's just like Ip Man. If you've seen Ip Man 3, him against Mike Tyson.
Yeah,
that fight scene right there, just nothing but fight, like fury and brute force, versus his calm demeanor and everything like that, taking in the blows, like taking that energy and transferring it and set. It was like, yo, it was brutal.
And so, like, I think in that regard, they played homage to martial arts for anyone that like is familiar with martial arts movie or the general, because that butt scene speaks to to kind of like the Americanized action. Kung fu martial arts, like absolutely. I definitely got Jackie Chan vibes. Like my man jumped off and ran through the top of the bar. Like when you hold on to the bar here on the top of the roof, like he went through that and came out and hit somebody. So I was
it was all Rush Hour. That was like a Rush Hour scene. All Rush Hour.
That's it right there. And so that was amazing. It was again a type of martial arts that we, Jackie Chan had made popular, this idea of like, I'm nice and I'm flexible. Like, I'm cool, right? Like,
I'm nice
and I'm gonna do things that make you laugh.
You know what I'm saying? And then, but deceptively awesome. You hit the other scene for me that was I enjoyed it the most, and it was this idea because that was more like the beauty, the traditionalism in terms of kung fu. Like this idea, it's all about energy, it's all about poise, right? You can like you push, I pull, right? You pull, I push. Like it's all of that, and that scene just. It was to me literally art in motion and reminiscent of some of the I guess the movies that we receive from China that speak to their art form. So I think that was paid homage to. But I'll say the pro. Is that my only pro? Golly.
Jeez. That abomination fight is long. So I like the fact that they put that in the trailer and then they literally just threw it in the film to say, that's exactly what it was. So no need for you to don't think extra hard about this. Like, how did Wong get into this? Like, was he in a bracket? Did he bracket to get to this point? Nah, they're just 2 super beings that's fighting and they're doing something on the side. Like that was just like it was just extra.
It's just what they do.
It's just what they do on this. But I loved seeing Abomination back. My man's wearing cutoff jeans. So there's so many questions that I now have. Why does he look like this? Does he look like this because he's been evolving over the time since the films, or this is just his new design because of the fact that this is where we are in the Marvel Cinematic Universe?
I think it's
not a pro, but definitely a curiosity.
Okay.
How do you all feel about not even the 10 rings? I like the kind of semi-practical elements of the 10 rings, but taking Shang-Chi's character and making it more mystical in nature as opposed to that street level heroes for hire type guy.
We got Iron Fist for that.
He just said goodnight.
Yo, Corey, I told you guys stop picking on him, man. I told you don't do this.
How did you lose connection? How did Kelly lose connection just now?
Nah,
I think that's what he is.
It's like he disconnected his Wi-Fi.
When we first started seeing the trailers for it, like I'm actually kind of okay with them going away from the whole rings and going with the arm brands, because that's actually a real martial arts style with the braces, whatever.
Yeah.
But I like the question they had at the end of the movie. It's like, wait, this is some alien technology that nobody ever seen before. And the way you guys are using it now may not be how it's supposed to be used altogether. So they have a chance to actually put the comic versions into it where
See,
this
I
ring
don't
means
mind that.
this ring means that. I hope they don't do
I
that, but
wouldn't
if they
say
do
that.
it, I'll be
So
okay
like,
with
I
it.
don't mind that. I guess my issue is I think we already have a lot of cosmic level stuff. Like I think we're pushing too far out.
We got too much stuff going on.
Like I would love to see somebody who Sam Wilson can go, oh, I can connect with you, right? Because I think we're starting to lose connectivity to the everyday man, and that's what I was hoping when they gave us Shang Chi, because in the comic books again, his origin is more connected to those that street level guy, like
So,
Luke Cage to
well,
the guy that y'all mentioned, who I don't want to talk about, the Netflix ruined, like to Jessica Jones. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
But
to
here's the
Mr.
thing.
Knight.
But here's the thing. I'm gonna push back on you just a little bit. At the end of the movie, before the end credit scene, didn't they kind of showcase that? Because after everything that he went through, that he
As
did,
he's talking about his mystical element and journey on his like double date.
but
No,
they're sitting. He's sitting he's sitting in a restaurant, and they're talking about it as if it was
he
like, oh yeah,
walks
this
through a
is.
mystical circle ring to go.
I said
talk to Dr.
before they get to that. Now once he enters into that, and he's now part of this universe. Yes, it might change. He might be part of that, mystical and all that stuff. But I feel as though that after everything that he went through during that time, and for them to flip to a scene where they're back at this bar, and even at the end of that scene, they're at a karaoke bar. I feel as though they're keeping his mentality still on the street level. I mean, he still has this responsibility, but he didn't take up any mantles. He's still at the streets. His sister now, she's taking up those mantles. Now she's taking up that whole entity. But I think he's still grounded to an extent. Now, where do they go from here? Now that's a question to ask. But I feel as though at the end of the movie, I still feel as though he's still part of the streets. That's my opinion.
I think if you get
Once
a movie, once you get a movie, then that's it from the street part. Like, our street level characters gonna be Moon Knight, which is coming out later. Maybe She-Hulk with the Hawkeye character. That's probably gonna be our street level characters.
Nah,
But
I will say to that, then I kind of disagree because Sam, our Captain America now, has had the luxury of being in movies, have gone back to Marvel shows, and is going to have a movie again. And I think throughout it, he's remained grounded. I think throughout it, like he was what Captain America, right? Captain America was in these cosmic places, and somehow any scene with Captain America made you feel like I'm still back in Brooklyn.
Look at Spider-Man.
Same thing. Like
Spider-Man.
no matter how far they took him, there's some way, like something about the character itself still made you feel like I'm grounded. I think just the way
I see what you're saying now.
Shang-Chi's story, I feel like he's going to be connected to this mystical side of things. And I'm like, but we got that. Like, is that really his character?
Yeah, I feel as though it's the way they ended the movie. It could go either way. He could go that mystical route, or he could stay, low level to the streets. I mean, at the end of the day, he's young. So, I mean, it could go either way. I don't see it going. I can see it going both ways, but I don't think he's leaning too much in that mystical side just yet. I think he's still street level. So
that was my wondering.
Okay. I thought so. We mentioned before the father. I think Marvel has been doing a superb job when it comes to telling the story of their villains or their antagonists, I should say. I feel as though, like, instead of it, I have whips. You didn't give my father credit. I'm gonna kill you. I'm gonna make you bleed, Iron Man. Like, all that type of stuff is gone.
Wow, did he really manage to summarize Iron Man 2 with like 4 words?
I know.
yeah, I heard whips, and I was like, oh, that's Iron Man 2.
You killed my father. I went after you hard. Like, wow, somebody put that on Wiki. That's Iron Man 2.
But here's the thing. When it comes to his father, I felt as though that his father's obsession, he for 1,000 years, he was this warlord king with this incredible power. And then he meets this woman that changes his entire life. He takes off the rings. Now, when you're willing to take down the things that make you happy for a woman, you have met a good thing. And then you have kids, and then you're playing Dance Revolution. Like, they showed a complete transformation of his character. And then, but he still has demons like any other person, right? So now,
in this case, literal.
So now when the mom is dead and he goes back into that life for him to have that longing to be back with her and still have that longing to be back with her. You know, he could have got remarried. He could have any woman he wants, but his heart is forever attached to this woman. And for him to think that, oh, she's behind this gate and these villagers are stopping me from getting to her because they wouldn't even let me into the village because of all the sins that I've had. They're the ones keeping me away from her. So I'm going to go and get this woman out. So his whole entire motivation wasn't even for more power. It was more to be back united with the love of his life. So for him to go to that gate and try to break it down just to get her, and he's hearing her voice in his head, man, I was like, dang, like if anybody lost someone that they love and you had a chance to bring them back, wouldn't you not move heaven and earth to do that?
It's crazy, Corey. They just had a what if episode about that. But yeah,
honestly.
when he came back into that pool or when he was playing cards, whatever, and he just let out his anger, like I felt that. I was like, oh, get him, kill him. I was even angry too, like, yo, nah, take them out. I love this transition. Like, even I know you guys said that was in your cons, his hearing voices and stuff like that. You say, why would a 1,000-year-old super strong guy fall prey to that? And the first thing I thought, like when he's hearing voices, I'm like, oh, they're gonna do Mephisto and Shang Chi, because that's his whole that's his whole thing. Yeah. So I'm thinking it's gonna be somebody else, but I liked it. I like the whole transition, and like you said, it's showing that obsession and showing how he's just trying to build his kid up to, take his mantle and carry on with his old life.
Let's be clear. I'm actually not disagreeing with that being wonderful for the character. Right. I think the part where where I was completely lost when he's banging on these gate, these demons are coming out, like to an obsession that I don't think we saw enough build. Like I would have loved to. We saw one we saw one vision seemingly, right? One seeming vision where he saw his wife. That wasn't enough for me to make it feel like this was a deep obsession. That wasn't like, you didn't give me a quick montage of like paper strewn everywhere, like him seeing her and not being sure. Like, and so for him to have that level of obsession, but also having this type of calm, demure, kind of dedicated consciousness to be enough to pull punches. Because at the first fight between him and Shang-Chi, he pulled a punch. He could have ended him then, and he didn't. So that tells me there's still some level of connectivity he has with the present and the reality. Right. So when you get him to the door and now he's banging it down, the demons are coming out. I'm like, nah, you didn't do enough. Which is why I go back for me saying, if they had made the entire energy and focus him getting to Tao, oh man, I forgot the name. Talo. Like if they made that the entire thing, right? Just him even getting there, like him fighting Shang-Chi, that would have said enough. Because like you're willing to go through your children, you're willing to burn down the home, like all that. But when he got to the door, that's when I was completely disconnected. So everything you said, Sam, I agree with. Like I thought that was a great way of approaching an antagonist, because it was all about love and what you lost and how you willing to gain it back. Because he lost a lot. He talked about it, right? I gave it my entire empire for this woman. But at the gate, it was a big disconnect, because how he's like, there are demons flying, like there a lot of them. It wasn't like one of them.
You know what it brought me back to, and this might be a bad example, but this is what it brought me back to. The whole thing with Thanos and Peter Quill. So they had Thanos beat, and Peter's like, "Yo, where's Gamora?" And he's like, "Oh, she's dead." And he just snaps. Like the universe doesn't matter to him anymore. You know, the whole thing of stopping the big bad didn't matter at that present moment.
I realized you're actually making the comparison and saying it's like almost a 1-to-1 is a good thing.
I'm not saying it's a 1-to-1 is a good thing, but I'm trying to. For me, the way that I saw it is if I was in that person's shoes. If someone was to take away my wife, right, or something was to happen to her, and if I had to move mountains, to me,
but then
everything else really doesn't matter until I get to that. Until I get to that point.
Say, but you would have killed your son. Like if he was that obsessed with it, he would have long since killed Shang-Chi. He would have long since, like, it wouldn't have been an issue. He would have unleashed the magnitude of his power to get to the gate, and he didn't. The fact that he had that restraint, like Peter Quill, what we did saw was an immediate snap. Was it like, whoa, what? They gave this idea of like kind of a slow burn thing.
Okay.
That tell me by the time he got to the gate, he wasn't on fire. He was like kind of warm. Like he was okay. And so that's why I said the disconnect, because I get you with Peter Quill. I absolutely got that. Like that hit me. But with this, I was like, you seem to have some measure of consciousness left. Like you are not so deluded that you wouldn't hear flying demons coming out of a large wall.
I mean, they are kind of high. That wall was type big.
But
it wasn't like they were gracing his head. They were all the way up there. He was not.
It's one of those things like Corey said. If you want something back and this is the only way you think it is, you're gonna go all out to get it. That's
tunnel vision. When he has that tunnel vision, he ain't care. His son's in the way of the tunnel. He got to get through him, but his son wasn't trying to go down.
He threw his son in the whole lake for him to drown.
he was good with it.
So you think a couple of demons?
They got that. They got that. But that was the whole thing. Like it's his motivations. That's the pro that I saw in him. His motivations for why he was doing the things that he was doing. It wasn't even for power. It wasn't for any of that stuff. It was just for the fact that he could have a chance to be back with the woman that changed his life to begin with, and changed his whole way of life and way of thinking. So, that's how I pretty much saw that. I thought another pro in this movie was the detachment from the overall universe. So some movies rely on a lot of things in the universe. This movie made a mention to the blip once, and it wasn't even like verbally, it was just a poster just to give you an idea of when this takes place. And then after that, you see Wong and everything like that. But then that was pretty much it. And they didn't really connect a lot to the Marvel universe, only to tell you, all right, well, here's Slattery, and this is like the events from Iron Man 3, but they didn't even mention Tony Stark. They didn't mention Iron Man. They didn't mention none of that stuff that you would think they would put in this movie because of the connection that the movie has to the 10 Rings in those movies.
Well, they mentioned Iron Man. They mentioned Iron Man a few times.
Did they? I didn't catch that.
At the whole scene, they was talk about it.
Well, I mean that one scene to explain it, but other than that, it wasn't like a crutch. Yeah. And I like the fact that they didn't use the overall universe as a crutch. So they tried their best to tell this isolated story and what was going on with Shang Chi and how he became who he is now with the 10 Rings and everything like that. I think they stayed true to that and not use the overall universe, just like Black Panther. They mentioned little things here and there, but other than that, it was all in that bubble.
This is our story. We telling the story from front to back. Yeah. Another pro that I like is the first after credit where we see right into it. What was it? Wong, Captain Marvel, and Bruce Banner's back all of a sudden. And that caught me by surprise. At first I just seen him like, oh yeah, Bruce, Hulk. Like, wait, what? Wait. Why are you not the Hulk no more? Why is your arm still broken? What's going on here?
Arm, right?
Huh?
And yet still with a broken arm. Interesting.
Yeah.
Still in the sling.
Oh, I feel like I just got it.
Oh, what is it?
I got don't speculate.
No speculation?
Just talk about the pro. Okay. We're going to speculate real quick because I know we're a little over time. We're going to speculate real quick.
Okay, so the pro, I just like the pros of the after credits.
Where you go?
I like both after credits. I like how after credits are back in the theaters. I like enjoying waiting and just sitting down, chilling, letting the credits scroll, seeing names I'd never seen before, giving congratulations to people I don't know. Second after credit was okay. I kind of figured that was going to happen, that she was going to become the new big bad.
But we don't know if she's going to be the big bad.
Yeah,
we don't know if she's going to be a big bad.
She got Sharon Carter vibes.
I thought that we was going to see Sharon Carter, actually. I thought when she was talking to the camera, she was actually talking to somebody. I thought he was going to be either Val or Sharon. But it turned out to be.
I wouldn't even eliminate that from still being a possibility. I wouldn't even eliminate that if like Sharon is the one who will see some connection either in a show or something about like a woman in power. Because low key, Marvel's trying to also make sure to build out its equity thoughts. So
and a lot of things that happened in Captain America and Winter Soldier, the series happened in Madripoor, if I'm saying that right, which was where the Fight Club would happen. So most likely they met. They know who each other are. So.
There's a connection there. There's definitely a connection. So we're definitely going to see that. I thought the two after credit scenes, especially with Bruce Banner, seeing him as Bruce Banner. Oh my gosh. I'm going to tell y'all in speculation, and I want y'all to like make it known what I'm gonna tell y'all because I've been saying this for a long time. But anyway,
here he go.
yeah, that's right. That's
I'm
right.
gonna tell you not to speculate, but he ready to speculate.
Yeah.
But I'm not.
Hey,
So the pro.
Let's start these speculations. Oh, we still on pros? Okay, go ahead.
I was just saying, like, I thought both after credit scenes were good. You know, I thought they kind of build to, you know, a future Shang Chi movie and everything like that. I think they leave you guessing as to, you know, what is this beacon that's being sent out? Why is there a beacon? Or is there a pulse going on in one of these rings? You know, what happened that caused that? Yeah.
Question. That picture they were showing of Beacon, what is that? Like, is that in the ring itself, or is that something else? Like, I was trying to figure that out.
I thought when they were looking at all the rings, and then they kind of highlighted one of the rings and then expanded, and then they got like deeper into it, and then they showed that kind of like that pulse. So you know, what is that signaling? Is that signaling something? I hear a lot of people signaling stuff. So you know what? We're just gonna go into the speculation. I mean, I don't think there was any cons.
I do want to say with the after credits, I thought I was more so interested in the first one than the second. The second one was cool. I actually would have liked if they flipped it. I would have liked if they flipped the first one first and then the last one with the one. I thought that was more interesting. And I'm curious, right? I am curious about who and what these rings are connected to. And where we'll see that come back, because I think that is going to be pretty awesome. So I was both credit scenes were cool, right? Like on a scale of 1 to 10, they get a solid like 7.5. And like I said, the whole thing with Wong, for me, the credit scene with Wong and them, I was just like, so that's all it takes. You just got to you have to be nice and be in what's the word I'm looking for? In possession of really powerful items, and also you're an Avenger.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Spider-Man. He had YouTube videos. Yeah. That's how they found him.
And he had to be like super strong.
Iron Man was pressed for some help, though.
He's on the ropes. He's on the ropes.
He had his great. Come on, though. YouTube. You couldn't tell. He couldn't get Luke Cage in there.
You understand? Without Spider-Man, his entire team would have lost.
Facts. My man caught Winter Soldier's fist. Like, oh, you got a metal arm. That's what's up. Like, wow. Yo, that was dope. Anyway, specs. All right. This is speculation. So let's just jump into the speculation of this after credit, the first one. Why is Professor Hulk gone?
Yeah.
So I've been talking about this for a long time. I've been talking about this ever since Professor Hulk was on the scene. I think what's happening here is that Bruce Banner is going to try to find a way to heal himself, to fix his arm, to fix himself, and to fix the Hulk. I think the fact that they separated tells me one of two things. Number one, he has control again, and Hulk is going to be put back in a cage in his mind. But Hulk has been Hulk for some time, and then Hulk was merged with Bruce Banner for some time. So Hulk is a little smarter. I think when Hulk reemerges, we are going to get the savage world breaker Hulk that busts out, and he's going to be either an antagonist for another movie, or he's going to finally get a sequel to his movie. And I feel as though that's what they're going to do to try to make time, before they get to some of the bigger level, threats in the universe. I think that's what's going to happen, and that's why we see Bruce Banner in that sling, because he looks older now.
Yeah.
So I think that's what's going down.
Actually, I like your theory of him going back to just Bruce Banner to try to fix himself, because comic lore is that when he's just Bruce Banner, he's smart. Like his intelligence goes up way higher than when he's Professor Hulk. So I like that theory. I don't know if he's going to turn into a savage. I'm not seeing Hulk as a bad guy in the near future. I don't know if that's going to happen.
I think he's going to do some experiments and is going to enrage his Gamma to a level that Bruce Banner can no longer control, and then boom, Mephisto.
I think somebody else would take that. Like he's gonna try to fix himself, but maybe somebody's gonna be in a room or around or take his experiment and try to do it themselves, and that's gonna be the protagonist.
So
that's what
I think what we're missing is that we know that there's a show coming out called She-Hulk.
Yes. That's another thing.
And if I see a human Bruce Banner, and which means there's an absence of the Hulk, how would that happen? Like, how would there be energy loss that would allow the reversion. Because I think what's the matter of it. It's a matter of conservation of energy. Like, I can't sustain this anymore because, and I think we're going to get the first catalyst of Red Hulk coming out soon. And I believe we'll see the only reason he's Bruce Banner is because while being Professor Hulk, he had to save his cousin. And whatever that process was, resulted in just Bruce Banner. Though I think the interim and the little piece we're gonna miss is somebody's gonna get a hold of some Hulk blood. Someone's gonna get a hold of some like Hulk energy, and we're gonna get a Red Hulk also.
Yeah,
I could definitely see that.
I'm more in line with that.
Yeah, me too. But I still want to see that Berserker Hulk. I mean, we may never get that, but I mean, they
can't make a
definitely
speculation off of just pure hope. Like, I just if that's the case, I want to see Avengers versus X-Men Phoenix Saga. Like, let's just give it to me raw.
I mean, they could still do that.
Lies, the lies you tell.
How? We have a multiverse now, brother. They could give you that.
Who paying for that? Even with Disney's deep pocket, that is a Harry Potter level saga movie.
Listen, man, Kevin Feige.
That's a good speculation.
He might be setting that up right now. He's giving us all these little crumbs while he's setting up this big thing.
I think we'd sooner see Doom World. I think they jump to that because that's been a popular comic book in the recent series. I think we'd rather see this quick emergence of Doom getting a hold of like new stones and recreating the realities.
We need a Fantastic Four before that.
Yeah, we need.
Before we get to a Phoenix Saga, I think we'll see that because of the Fantastic Four being very soon and coming out.
Yeah.
But like basically any type of like the next multi crossover, if we're talking about heroes fighting heroes, like Civil War can't just be Civil War one movie. That's gonna be across movies.
Yeah.
That alone has got to be like Endgame type stuff.
Yeah.
I mean,
too many characters.
Granted, we might see that in Doctor Strange. Not necessarily a fight, but just the fact that these multiverses are collapsing on each other, and we're gonna have to see some of these other characters involved in this.
I'm very curious how Sam Raimi will handle. Oh man, I'm very curious how Sam Raimi is going to handle not only because Civil War was an anomaly. Russo brothers get major credit because you have all of these characters, yet somehow the story manages to remain about Captain America. Like, I don't know how they were able to do that. But can Sam Raimi do the same
with Spider-Man?
No.
Oh no. Sorry, with Doctor Strange.
Exactly.
I
hope so.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying he can't. I'm just curious because that's a hard thing to do, to still have the story be about the main character. But you have, we got America Chavez, right? We got Wong. We got Scarlet Witch. We're probably going to have an issue. One of the Lokis are going to be in there. One of them. Who knows?
Yeah.
And then now they're alluding to these other, like.
I think Spider-Man is going to answer that question.
If they can do it. If Sam Raimi can do it in Multiverse of Madness.
I think how they leave Doctor Strange and Spider-Man will kind of give us an idea of what the Multiverse of Madness is going to look like. I think.
You think Strange is going to be lost at the end of Spider-Man?
I think so.
I see.
I think he's going to be doing so much to try to keep everything contained.
Chris Baccello is an amazing artist. He's got like a graffiti type style. Chris Baccello. He was the main comic book feature on a Brian Bendis run of Doctor Strange. One of the lowest points I've ever seen Doctor Strange. Like, my man, without magic, like, it's all messed up. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful storytelling. And so, like, I'd be interested if they pull some stuff from that, which I know they're not, but it'd be interesting.
Yeah, I would love to see that because I think that was one thing that they missed with Iron Man, to show him at his lowest when he was. They did,
but you just didn't like the movie.
They didn't show him at his low. That was like, Pete, you out?
Well, I need.
No, he said Iron Man 2. I thought Iron Man 3 was his lowest. But.
No, not the way that the comic books, the demon in the bottle, not the way that the comic books.
They didn't show him
his deterioration
and stuff like that. Yeah.
That they didn't show that, and I think if they do that with Doctor Strange, that makes sense.
But see, but Iron Man, like, you start seeing it in Iron Man 3, and then it carried over to Civil War, where you saw that he was kind of losing it a little bit. So I think it played out for a couple movies.
He was trying to justify he was trying to justify the decisions that he made in his life, and it was just compiling. Every time he got a foot out of the ditch, you know, homegirl came and said, "Yeah, my son, yeah, he died in Sokovia because of you."
But to break Doctor Strange, you have to go to this place of he once again. So he was in a place where he was the best in the world at what he did.
Yeah,
right? He crumbles. Mm-hmm. He builds himself back up in a different way, and everyone has crowned him the guy. Yeah. Right? We're all looking for you to be the guy. I think to break him, you have to take it all away. Which is, again, I'll tell you got to read the Chris Pichello one because it's really dope. Like you have to take all of that away. You have to get like, what are you now? If you can't be a surgeon, really, but you're also not the Sorcerer Supreme.
What are you?
Yeah, and I think they talked about it in the What If episode where there's like, yo, Doctor Strange always has to fix something. And I think if you take that away where there's a problem where he actually can't fix, I think you could start seeing his sin, if you want to say.
Doctor Strange was a ghost vet in the comic books at one point. I'm dead serious. He was a ghost vet.
Wow. I mean, so just based off of this after credit, we saw Carol Danvers as well. And we see her and then she's like, yo, I gotta go. So there's something going on out there. And I mean, at the end of that, where they were out and they were singing Hotel California, I mean, it was funny and everything like that. It was like, all right, they got one.
It was hilarious because Wong was singing Beyonce and Doctor Strange. Now he's singing.
But the Sanctum is unguarded. So his whole thing is that the Sanctum has to be guarded at all times. So, you know, again, it preaches to me like, all right, well, where are they in the timeline? You know, is all of this that goes down, you know, before, you know, Doctor Strange and Spider-Man gets tangled together? Is that happening the same time?
I think this is taking place at the same time as Far From Home. I think it's then summer.
Oh, no way home.
No, nah.
Or Far From Home.
Well, No Way Home picks up right after Far From Home, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Yes, and Far From Home happened in like it was a summer vacation. I think
they said it was like 6 months after the blip, or I think it was like that.
Yes, I think that's where this is happening at.
Okay.
Around that time. But then it's San Francisco. It could be it's cold and we wouldn't I couldn't tell. So I don't know. That's the only reason why I said that, because it looked like it was summertime around that time. And they said present day. And the only present day we could think of is Far From Home. And their present day is 2024.
That's true. Listen, guys. I mean, there's I mean the movie, before we go, real quick, we gotta give a rating to what we thought this movie as, the entire movie, beginning to end, including after credit scenes as well. So what did you think? Colors everything. What did you think as far as your rating of this movie?
10 scale?
Yeah.
10 scale. Yeah.
10 scale.
Gosh. Someone give me 7.5, 8. I feel like I'm closer to 8. Depending on when I think about the movie, but it's somewhere between there, 7.5, 8. I thought it was
Go ahead, Legend.
No, go ahead.
It was like I liked what I liked, and like I told you, there are some things where I'm like, so 7.5, 8 for me.
Okay.
Hey, Sans, this guy berated the movie for a whole hour. He gave it an 8.
Marvel already gets that curve, man. You know how that goes, man. That's how it is.
Well, I gave it a 9. I really enjoyed the movie. This was one of the movies that I'll go back to over and over again, just for the fight scene itself. I'll watch that over and over. I like the whole story. I like the father and son story. Yeah, I give it a 9. Like there's some Marvel movies that even if I give it like a 7 or 8, that I probably won't go back to it. Like even like the first Doctor Strange movie, that's one that I didn't go back to watch it again. Thor 2, of course, didn't go back to watch them. But this was one I will actually rewatch over and over again.
Okay. I gave it an 8.5 when I got out the movie theaters. I mean, again, the movie was a fun movie. There were some parts that I felt that it didn't need. There were some characters I thought they should have just wasted. But other than that, you know, I feel as though that it didn't move the needle so much for me in the overall universe, but it definitely, you know, he definitely planted his feet, Shang Chi. so I can see him in future movies, and I'm not lost as to why he has all this incredible abilities. Like, if you want to establish your character, your movie did it, but it didn't move the needle anyway for me as far as like, I can't wait to, Eternals might take this into a whole nother level. I forgot to mention that.
Dang, I say this all the time.
The rings could be part of
It's
that.
unfair. I feel like we always judge movies based on how they move the overall
universe. Rather than the story it tells.
Rather than the story itself. And I think it's both. They set that up as an expectation, but it's also kind of unfair.
It is.
It's like
it is.
I agree with Samson. I think it just told a good story on its own. Well, my score is based on that story. It's a good story on its own. But if I was to rate it like you did, based on the overall universe, I actually probably rate it less.
It didn't move the needle for me.
Definitely.
So
now, sorry, go back to speculations, but what if that beacon has something to do with the whole? Never mind. That'll be too soon. It'll be too soon.
Why not? That's next month.
Yeah,
no, November. Celestial.
That's a deviant thing.
I'm thinking, but I don't know. That'd be too soon. I don't know. That looked like something that they could spread out for.
Remember, they said that this dropped here on Earth thousands of years ago.
Yeah.
And the Eternals, they came to Earth
7,000 years.
So it could just be that
one of those dudes, one of the Eternals, the blacksmith dude, made the rings.
But who he gave it to originally?
Yeah.
Maybe he wasn't even meant to give it to anyone. Maybe like if you're a blacksmith, you're a creative person.
You just create.
Like, this would be dope. Let me create this. Like we create this, and then they get a hold of it somehow.
Yeah, got a whole room full of junk and don't even know it's missing.
You know what I'm saying? Like that. Oh, I need to go. Yeah,
put it back into the specs. Hey man, that's what I'm here for. Hey man, I'm here all night.
Yeah. But some of us got babies, man.
Oh yeah,
some of us got babies.
That's true.
Listen, fellas, thank you so much for those who are watching. So those who have been watching, those who will watch, please go and see this movie, Shang-Chi. It's a fun movie. It's an exciting movie. A lot of great scenes, a lot of humor. It has everything for everyone in this movie. So, definitely a great watch. Color is everything. I Am Legend. Thank you guys again. Deceptively Deceptively awesome. He fell out the stream, but I'm sure he probably would have rated this a strong 7. Maybe a 6.5 based on how he felt about the movie. So, but then again, who knows? But thank y'all for joining. Thank you guys for watching. Until next time, I'll see y'all. Peace out.
Take care.
Peace.